ways to get ourselves out of this deep, dark hole. And that began with obviously looking at alternative sources of financing, meaning leveraging more on public-private partnerships for financing government projects, including infrastructure. Right now, we are doing our biggest road project on a PPP model, which is proving to be very successful, which is the Lusaka-Ndola dual carriage highway that links the capital city to the mining towns. We've done about 9 projects so far, road projects, major road projects on a PPP model, something that we had to learn. Blended financing, external financing, a lot of things that we had to do in a very short period of time, and really just thinking outside the box. Yesterday, someone mentioned that we have to look at challenges as opportunities to do things better. And I think for us, that's what came out of it. We challenged ourselves to say, how do we reform? How do we make things better for our people? When it comes to having projects approved and moving projects from pre-feasibility to financial close, we realized that there were a lot of bottlenecks, especially when it comes to the delays in licensing, the delays in registering your company and getting all the environmental approvals. And we had most of our investors complaining that, look, I can't spend 24 months trying to turn a project around just by getting through the government processes. So we've come up with a lot of other ingenious things, such as, for example, what we're calling the presumptive approval. We had the sector, telecommunications sector, for example, complain that, look, we want to plant towers all over the country, but it takes about 18 months for the Environmental Management Agency to give us a license. But if you look at the default rate in terms of these companies planting the tower in the wrong place, it's negligible. It's under 1%. So the chances that they will plant the tower in the wrong place are really very low. And then you have this agency that has to take 18 months to tell you where you can plant the tower. And so we removed all that. We say plant the tower. The agency will follow you later with their bureaucracies. And if you're in the wrong place, they'll tell you to move it. And chances are usually you're not in the wrong place. So all those presumptive approvals, one-stop shop, where we have one licensing window for all the 13 licenses that you need to do business in a particular sector. So our government, not sure about what others are doing, but for us, we are looking at the problems that the citizen is facing, looking at the problems that the investor is facing, and making sure that as government, we facilitate the appropriate reforms to make business easier to do. We're also trying to see how we can facilitate better preparation of project documents. We have a pipeline right now, for example, for energy projects, where we've done a lot of reforms in our energy sector, having faced the drought and having relied on water as our main source of power. We then had to think of other firm renewables that we could use, like solar. And so we have this solar explosion, is what we're calling it, which is a 1,000 megawatt solar project, where we've gathered a number of projects. And my team, as the Presidential Delivery Unit, what we do is look at all these projects, help them to speed up their approvals, help them to become bankable, and then try to see how we link them to investors. So a lot of reform happening in that space. And I'm sure many other governments are doing the same thing. But one last thing that we've been able to do is ride on the power of collaboration. Yesterday, someone said collaboration is the new currency. We're working closely with our neighboring countries, working closely with friendly investors as well to see how we can facilitate more projects using alternative financing solutions, seeing that we're not in a position to finance most of these projects ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Kuso. Thank you for that perspective. And I think it's a good segue into finance in the future, right? Because you just highlighted that. The future is not going to finance itself. We know that capital is available because we've already talked about that earlier. Um, we know that there's a huge gap to fill, as Serena, you already highlighted. But clearly something's still missing. I mean, in our conversations with DFIs and financing partners, they say capital is available, it's there. But what's missing to make these projects bankable, as she just mentioned? What's your view on this? Why can't Africa 50 just fund everything now?
We would love to be honest, to be all working there because of our passion. For African, speaking for myself, I have children who I'm afraid in the future will turn to me and say, Mama, what did you do? You started in human rights, you worked in development finance. What did you do? Capital is out there, but it's a little bit frustrating to access it. So I'm going to focus on three areas. One, the pipeline of bankable projects. A couple of our speakers here spoke about that already. What does that mean? Technically sound projects that are economically viable and well structured. We don't have a good pipeline for that. Everyone wants to invest in a project that already is generating revenues and dividends. What we've done at Africa 50 is 10% of our balance sheet is for these early stage deals, pre-bankable deals. In addition, we just raised money at Africa 50 is to try to aggregate assets into